We're live. What's going on? Yes, thank you guys so much for joining today's topic.
Today's topic. Today's
Okay, there we go. We'll fix that one. Anyway, today's topic is talking about a poor resident. Actually, it's a multitude of cases, but this one case I'm going to lead with is about a resident um, who lived in an assisted living home and unfortunately was found deceased after being missing for quite some time. So, the purpose of this live and this Find Out Friday here at the Siricato, the purpose for this is so that I want you school owners to understand the current state of nursing homes and the care and how your CNA school can help. How you can help bridge the gap and how you can use these case studies as leading points to help you when you are negotiating things like contracts, or maybe a nursing home wants you to train their future CNAs, but they're trying to do things like get you to go down low on your price, or trying to talk you into. I've heard lots of people say that these nursing homes have tried to talk them into actually coming into their facility and being an employee for their facility and training up nurse aides when you've already got your own school approved and they could just be sending them to you. Of course, they're going to try to get you to work for their facility because that saves them money, right? If I pay you $35 or $40 an hour to teach a class, as opposed to paying you $1,500 per person that's sitting in that class, I'm saving a lot of money. So anyway, let's talk about it. All right, let's see who all is here. Hey, Hannah. Hannah said, I can't believe I haven't even heard about this yet. Hey, Tina from Arizona. Welcome. Who else is here? Let me go ahead and pull up this blog article. Okay. Whew. Okay, I got 3 stories for you. Story number 1 is about an assisted living. The second story is about a nursing home. And then the third one is about another skilled facility. And so with each one of these case studies or these stories, I do want to talk about how you as the CNA school owner or CNA instructor can use this information to your benefit, whether it be using it to make a point when trying to negotiate with a nursing home, or you could even be using these as case studies for your students in the theory portion of your course or the didactic portion of your course. Hey there, Callie's in the house. All right, so number 1. I'm gonna lead with it. So who's from Ohio? Anybody here from Ohio? This happened at the Merryman. The Merryman is a nursing home / assisted living facility located in Akron, Ohio. What happened? There was a resident who lived at this facility by the name of Joan Meredith. She was 82 years old. And on a Sunday, her nurse, or at least this is the first level of documentation for this situation, her nurse went to give her 5 o'clock medications, and Joan was not in her room. Now, the research that we dug through didn't really say what that nurse did in terms of documentation, but somehow between her going there for the night meds, the 5 p.m. meds, and the patient not being there, all the way to Tuesday morning, this resident was missing. And somehow this resident ended up being determined as gone. On a leave, maybe with family or something for the weekend, it was assumed. So I don't know if that was documented or if someone said that along the way or what. So I'm going to stop right there and say the first thing to learn in this particular situation is documenting, right? So we know that nurse aides and nurses are supposed to be doing every 2-hour checks on residents just to make sure that their well-being is okay, that they're fine, they're breathing, that there's no unsafe hazards, right? So if someone was doing those every 2-hour checks, at what point did someone say, oh, she's not here, she must have went with her family, and then actually documented that or spread that information during every trade-off or report? I don't know where that happened, but somehow it did. And the fact of the matter is that it wasn't until Tuesday morning when the nurse who came in Tuesday to give the medications to the resident realized, dang, she hasn't been here. The last record I see on her record was Sunday night. Let me call the family. And she called the family and asked the family when they were going to bring her back. And you know what the family said? Bring her back. She's gone. And that's when all hell broke loose. They realized that they lost this resident somehow. And again, it was an assisted living facility. So let's make sure we all understand, you know, with assisted living facilities, individuals can come and go as they please. It's not like a nursing home. However, this resident was in the assisted living wing of this facility. So she could technically come and go as she pleased. However, no one signed her out, nor did she sign herself out. There was no documentation of that. Fast forward, this is the very sad part of it. Fast forward, the staff, everyone, they're looking all over. And by the way, guys, this was wintertime. This poor woman had exited through the door in the back of the facility. And I'm going to stop there because I know someone who actually worked at that facility. Not during the time that this happened, but someone worked at that facility, and they told me that that back door was known to be cracked because staff would go in and out of that door to do things like go to smoke a cigarette outside and run back in, or, you know, go through that back door to run to their car and come back in. So it was known as like a breezeway area to run in and out to do little things. So it wasn't unheard of for this door to be cracked. Somehow this young lady, somehow the resident went through that door, and between time and the meantime, she didn't get far. I don't know if she tripped or fell or what happened, but they found her body in the snow, frozen 2 days later, y'all. Horrible story. That nurse should have called the family or an emergency contact to confirm the resident was actually on leave. I agree. That's the thing right there. Now, how does this play out in terms of you and how you can apply this to your students into learning? Actually, I'm going to go a little further. The next level was after her body was found, the family just happened to be coming there at the same time and asking like, well, what's going on? You guys called me about our mother. Where is she? The unit secretary said, oh yeah, we found her. And they're like, okay, well, cool. Where is she? And then the secretary's like, well, I can't tell you. What? Then just don't say anything. You know, just say, oh, glad you're here. Let me get the nurse, or let me get the DON, or let me get somebody. Not this smart, yeah, we found her, but I can't tell you. Like, who does that? Meanwhile, she's dead in the back. Like, what? That was horrible. Just horrible for a person to do something like that. So anyway, long story short, that's the end of the story. The poor woman died. So how can we all learn from this? Number one, making sure that our nurse aides, when we send them out into the workforce during their training, we need them to understand how imperative it is to conduct the checks, those every 2-hour wellness checks, and not just look in, actually assess, are they breathing? Is the chest rising and falling? And number two, documentation is so important. And number three, don't just go off what somebody else said. This whole rumor of her being on leave, like, where'd y'all get that from? You know, we don't need to just take things for face value. The question is, oh, she's on leave. Well, with who? Or what day did she leave? When is she expected back? Like, these are questions that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to ask. So I would encourage, when you're training up our nurse aides and they're going out to the workforce, have them think ahead on these types of questions. It's not just Jones gone, okay, next person. Like, no, we need to dig a little deeper in that. You guys agree? And tell me, what do you think we could do to help our aides train up for this type of situation in the future? Let me read this. She didn't get medications until Tuesday. No one else passed meds until then. Right. Like, people, I don't know if they weren't passing meds or if they did pass meds and just see she was gone and kept going. Like there was no documentation at all from Sunday night until Tuesday. None. Which is why the nurse that came in that Tuesday morning was like, well, what is going on? But you know, what probably happened was it was probably the same nurse that worked all weekend type thing, you know, and I don't know. It's just sad. It's just sad. No count check in the morning. That's a good question. You know, do they do count checks? And then not only that, but there's typically like a interdisciplinary meeting where people come together and discuss what's going on with the patients or the residents. This didn't come up at the interdisciplinary meeting. I'm sure they should have had one between Sunday and Tuesday. Like, what is going on? Anyway, very sad story. Next story. This is a nursing home in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Anybody from Iowa? A resident care facility was cited for financial exploitation as well as having untrained workers. Inspectors in Iowa State were investigating allegations of abuse at a facility called Heritage Specialty Care. This is where a resident claimed that a nurse aide took $1,625 from them and then started antagonizing them through text message, calling them names like Veggie Boy or Vegetable. Now, I got questions here. My first one is, and not that it's against the resident, but why does the resident have $1,600 on them at the facility at a nursing home? I don't know if it was cash or if somehow this person extorted money through an app or something. I don't know, or a check, but like, why would a person have that kind of money at the nursing home? That's number one. But number two, why does the CNA have the resident's telephone number? So this is an educational moment. You, as a healthcare worker, don't need to be calling a resident in a nursing home on their cell phone. You don't need to be texting a resident in a nursing home on their cell phone. There's never a need for that ever in life. You want to know something about them? Look in their care plan. You want to talk to them about something? Walk into the room and ask them and leave. Under no circumstances should you have a resident's number programmed in your phone and be communicating with them. Like, what is going on here? Technology, people just are using technology all wrong. They don't get it. It's like, I had to tell you that? How many of you have that incorporated into your curriculum? Because that's one of those things that's like, I didn't know I needed to tell you that. Let's see, Teresa. Hey, Teresa. Teresa says, policies are put in place for a reason if only they are followed. Girl, yes. Yes. Okay, Miss Willis. Hey, Miss Willis. I think they should be exposed to these types of articles as reference and case studies during class to let them know that these things can really happen on their watch. That's the thing, because this next story I'm gonna tell you about, people did some time over this one. Hey, Jacqueline, I agree. Put a reminders that shared notes are necessary at all times. Yeah, I like that. I see it all the time. The CNAs get in with them at the family or the facility. What the having communication and text messaging? Now, let me take that. Let me say this. If you are doing home care, this is a different beast, right? Like, okay, I've done home care for a client before when I was a CNA, and I would have to grocery shop for her, and I would have to fix meals for her. So I can see me having her number and calling, before I come and saying, hey, Miss So-and-so, I'm getting ready to come over. I know I was going to go grocery shopping for you. Is there anything extra you needed me to get on your list before I go? Like that would make sense. But in a nursing home, no, there's just no reason for it. No. There is a weak link, and this is just not for the primary nurse. It's the entire system. There is a loophole in the system. A good check and balance should eliminate workarounds. Okay. Maybe the resident was a sugar daddy that went wrong. You know what? Listen, I have definitely, okay. And this is why we also need to make sure that our nurse aides are aware to not share your personal business with the residents. They don't need to know about your baby daddy and how he didn't pay his child support. They don't need to know that your check was $200 short because you missed a day and now your rent gonna be late. They don't need to know any of that. They got their own stuff going on. And anyway, who just walks up in somebody's house and starts dumping on them all of their problems when you were paid to come there to care for them? Like, we need to make sure nurse aides are understanding that when you are coming to this facility, this is their home. You are a guest. You are being paid to render a service to them. You do the service with a smile and you keep it pushing. Like, it's not this we're friends thing. Anyway, back to this. Okay, also, this particular nursing home, again, we're still talking about Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The nursing home had also been cited by failing to train its TNAs. Yes, the temporary nurse aides. They did not train them properly. So TNAs are supposed to have a certain amount of training before they are pushed out to the floor. This facility was pushing them out to the floor after only 4 days of training and putting them on the floor by themselves due to staffing shortages. And the TNAs were admitting this. Other citations at this facility also included unsanitary practices, insufficient staffing, infection control issues, and the list goes on and on. In 2020, the nursing home actually paid a fine for that exploitation, that financial exploitation thing I told you about. And also, listen to this, the same employee, a few weeks after that first thing, taking that $1,600 and calling him Veggie Boy. I don't even know what that was about. The same employee then texts the guy asking for $200 and that he will pay the resident back when he gets paid. Do you not know people can read text messages? Like, what is going on? What's going on? Hey, Miss Cooper. Okay, next. We have, yes, it's true. I saw a lot when I worked in the nursing home when I first became a nurse. Please stop because it stresses the client. Yes, it does stress the client. Like okay, that's what I was going to tell you. When you are sharing information with your life and what's going on with your life to residents, like, I'm not trying to be rude when I say this, but just imagine their families are busy. Their families probably aren't really talking to them about their lives and what they have going on. Them themselves don't have a lot going on in their life, right? Other than when I'm going to eat, when my next doctor's appointment, and when my nurse aide is coming to see me. They don't have a lot going on. So if you're telling them something like that and it's negative, it becomes something that's all they can think about. And they've been through life. They know what it's like to not be able to pay your rent or to have children and can't take care of them. So now they're worried about you. That's not fair. That's not fair. So you can't dump on a person who you're supposed to be caring for. Now, back to Tina's comment about the sugar daddy thing. I have definitely had clients and residents trying to throw dollars for some shady stuff. And I guess, a person who is in the moment and in need may fall for that. Woo! I don't know. But anyway, I don't even want to know. All right. Next, I can catch CNAs on the phone while providing care. Yeah, we can't do that. Just your cell phone doesn't even need to be out. Imagine if you paid someone to come take care of your child and they're on the phone, or just do to people how you want to be done. Okay, my last case study. This one is big, so if you still around, you might want to stick around and hear the rest of this one. So this one is a skilled nursing facility in Atlanta, and this just happened in March. So let me see the name of the nursing home. I forgot the name of it. The name of the nursing home was, I don't know that it matters, but okay. Northeast Atlanta Health and Rehab. So there was a gentleman who, as we call a walkie-talkie resident. He wasn't a resident at the time. He was just a man who went to have hip surgery. Fine, nothing wrong with him. Went to have hip surgery. He opted to put himself into Northeast Atlanta Health and Rehab for rehab, right? He opted to place himself there. He didn't have to. Or maybe he did because family couldn't take care of him. Whatever the case is, he admitted himself. The family started hearing little rumors from him about things that were going on that weren't quite right. And so the family decided to go and put a hidden camera in the facility, in his room, in a clock. And what they found and what they witnessed was even worse. Okay, somebody about to have to get kicked off. Hold on, y'all. Let me boot this person off. Remove. Somebody is spamming my stuff. All right, so so what happens is this recording records the last moments of this man's life. And apparently what happens is he's having a heart attack. Okay. I don't know if maybe he was one of those patients who are constantly on call lights and they got irritated with him or what happened, but he hit his call light. The nurse came in. He told the nurse that he felt like his chest was hurting and he can't breathe good. And she told him to stop pressing the call light. I got stuff to do, and left. I think there was even a moment where she may have taken the call light from him. So now he's yelling out, asking people, someone help him, help me, help me. CNA goes in there, does not help him. Another nurse goes in there, does not help him. So now we have 3 people who have went in this room and did not help this man while he's screaming and yelling, asking for help. He ends up having a heart attack and dies. The CNA goes in there and finds him unresponsive, calls for the nurse like she should have. The nurse came in, found him unresponsive, and guess what she did, y'all? She left the room to go check his charts to see if he was a DNR, and somehow that took her an hour. The video loops and goes on for an hour before she comes back. And guess what? He was not a DNR. Now, my problem with this is, why are you finding out halfway through your shift if somebody is a DNR or not? Why? That in itself is a huge issue. You should have known that before you took the assignment. That's nursing 101. Patient's name, who's the doctor, what is he here for, what medications is he on, is he a DNR or a resuscitate? Maybe 2 patient identifiers, I'll add that in there. But that is 101. So I'm gonna stop there and say that our CNAs need to be knowing that information too. If you're caring for someone, you need to know if they're a DNR or not immediately at the onset of your shift. Do not even take the assignment if you don't know a piece of data that specific. I don't know that we're teaching our CNAs that, are we? I mean, I've been in nursing homes where, I've been looking for the CNA all morning, trying to give them report updates, and it's not till 10 or 11 o'clock. They're finally coming to me asking for a report. Girl, it's almost lunchtime, and you just now trying to ask me what's going on. I've been looking for you all morning to give you an update. What if something would have happened until now? Unacceptable. Hey, Olivia, I think I heard this story. I used to work in a nursing home as an RN. And the simplest thing to do is to call the ambulance and send them to the hospital. It's the safest thing to do. Right. That's all you got to do. What, you don't feel like doing the paperwork? You don't feel like sitting there and waiting with him until they get there? Like, what is the problem? I just had this discussion with my DON about putting them on the resident care card. Oh, whether or not they're a DNR. Tina says, if you don't know a resident is a DNR, then you start CPR until someone else can identify whether or not they are from the chart. Yes. Like, what? So then here's the kicker. They finally call the ambulance. Again, this man's been dead for a year later. An hour later. And they call the ambulance. And when the ambulance is walking into the building, guess what they go do, y'all? Oh, now they know how to perform CPR. And they're performing CPR as The ambulance walks in. How disgusting. How disgusting. So what happens? This was 8 years ago. So it took them 4 years to draw up indictment charges on the CNA. Yes, the CNA went down for this one too, y'all. The CNA, the nurse, and the third nurse who was helping with CPR because she was caught trying to cover up the crime. But the main people were the CNA and the nurse for that resident that day. They both are doing jail time. As a matter of fact, the CNA, let me see, the nurse, her name is Lois Agyeman. She resides in Snellville. She was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and I think she's doing 8 years. Yep, sentenced to 8 years in prison. The CNA, I didn't see what amount of time the CNA is going to get for her role, but she's definitely doing some prison time too. Very sad story. And then they're trying to get the lawyer to throw the video out, y'all, saying that the video they didn't have permission to record the staff. Now, this does beg a question. I ain't gonna lie. I have definitely walked into rooms and the family's like this when you walk in. And I'm like, what? Get that out of here. Like, and they're trying to record every move, every moment you make, it's definitely an uncomfortable situation to be in. I don't know if I feel like that should be legal, but at the same time, this is evidence. And unfortunately, you were caught on a hidden camera. And just because you didn't know you were being recorded doesn't mean it can be thrown out. The Supreme Court decided it was not admissible and did hold it. So what do you guys think about that? Actually, that's an interesting concept. How do you feel about the fact that you could be walking in and out of a patient's room and they could be recording you? I mean, one could definitely say, as long as I'm doing everything right, who cares? I'm with you on that too. But then on the other part, we could say, well, there's intimate things going on between the patient and me and the care that I'm providing. And maybe you don't need to be previewed to that. Maybe the patient has something going on with them that you shouldn't be knowing. And so now you're being previewed to that. And so there is a level of privacy for the patient or the resident that is not being thought about in that particular situation. So I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, in this particular situation, the gentleman supposedly did give the family the okay to record. That is what the family said. Of course, the patient is dead now, so there's no way to know. Very sad story. What do we learn from that story? I definitely feel like, again, making sure your CNA understands the importance of not lying and covering up for somebody else, number one. The moment she walked in there and she saw that he was dead, or let me back up, the moment she walked in there and he was calling for help, she should have helped him. I don't care if the nurse did tell her, oh, leave him alone. He's been calling all day. He fine. She should have reported the nurse or provided some type of help. And so this is an empowerment moment because we do teach our nurse aides that you're supposed to listen to the nurse. And if the nurse is telling you, oh, he's fine, leave him alone, but you feel in your heart he's not, we need to empower nurse aides to have the strength to push past that. And if that means going past their staff nurse and going to a charge nurse or going to a DON or going to someone else in the name of safety for the resident, it is necessary. It is necessary. Again, are we teaching that? We're quick to teach to listen to the nurse, but are we teaching them what happens when the nurse isn't listening to you? Are we teaching that? Tina said, I just looked this nurse up because her name sounded familiar, and I'm just going to say I can see this happening. Woo! Woo-wee. The CNA, her name was Mabel. Mabel, forgot her name. Mabel something or another. Um, mm, mm, mm. Anyway, very, very sad situation. I just feel like these are case studies we could be learning from. We should be sharing with our CNAs and having open discussions about these scenarios, because these are things that we don't think to add into our educational experiences. And unfortunately, until they unfold is when we think about how to deal with them or what to do in that situation. And we want to help our nurse aides think ahead. Um, Jacqueline says, yes, please teach this because agencies are so pressed. They will tell you to go to a client without giving you all the details. Right. And you need to know the details. You have to, you want me to care for this person? I need to know what's going on. These stories are so sad. It's almost like the folks need a humanity check before being allowed to school. Okay, I'm gonna tell y'all one more and then I'm gonna stop. I didn't put this in the blog. Actually, let me put the blog article in here for you guys. We have a blog article that we wrote on this, so I'll put that in the chat. But one other thing I will say, there was a gentleman, a male CNA, who impregnated a comatose. I think the woman was 17 or 18, but she was in a nursing home. She was comatose for whatever reason. I don't recall the reason, but she had been there for years. And she was getting, like nutritional supplements through her G tube and stuff like that. And he apparently was raping her. And she went all the way through a pregnancy before anyone realized what was going on. Did y'all hear about that? I mean, that is gross negligence on 9 months worth of levels. 9 months worth of levels. The doctor, the nurse, the aide, everyone that continuously cared for her, because I have cared for people who have been bed bound and who are in comatose states. And let me tell you something, they're usually the size of this. And if they aren't the size of this, they will become the size of this. So how do you miss a pregnancy in that individual? Now, I'll play devil's advocate. Some people carry their pregnancies different. That's fine. But I'm sure there are signs that happen, like maybe she no longer had her cycle and nobody noticed that her cycle wasn't being documented. Y'all missed that? Maybe her blood pressure was increasing, because we know that women get increased blood with pregnancy. No one noticed that. Like, there's just so many things that we can talk about. And it's like, when we were listening to her bowel sounds, like, no one noticed that. Or were we not listening to her bowel sounds? You should have been if she had a G tube. I don't know. There's so many things that anger me with the level of care. And it wasn't until a nurse aide was bathing this poor woman, and she saw the head of the baby crowning. Mm, mm, mm. Tina said, "You tell them you do not have consistency. That you do not consist to being videotaped, and they have to stop it as some facilities as a policy. I would like to know the family has the right as long as the correct paperwork is done. Yeah, we need to make sure that they are CP certified." And well, anyone working in nursing homes should definitely be CPR certified. But I see what you're saying, making sure the nurse aides are ahead of time. The CNA should have pulled the code button, okay, and gotten help. Like, that way, if you pull the code button, it's not just you and the nurse's little secret. Like, everyone knows and everyone's there, and they nip it in the bud immediately. That is such a good point, Tina. Thank you for that. So Tina said that situation was in Arizona with the gentleman who got that poor woman pregnant. Mm, mm, mm. I wonder whatever happened with the baby. I need to look that up. Because the family, are they going to want to keep the baby? He's clearly in jail. I feel like I heard he was even trying to get rights to the baby. Oh, people are so disgusting. And then I live in a state where they want to force you to have a child, even under those type of circumstances. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into that political crap. Anyway. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you like this session, it's 20 y'all. I should have 20 likes. Please click like. If you are here and you have not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I am only 48 people away from my goal of 7,000 subscribers. So hopefully by the end of the year, I will have my 7,000 subscriber goal. So if you are not subscribing, please do. And let me tell you why you should subscribe. You should subscribe because I do Find Out Fridays, where I help you think about how to use real-time cases and fuse them into your educational experiences. Real-time cases to help you grow as an entrepreneur and as a CNA school owner and or instructor. There we go, Mabel Turman, thank you. I have videos that I release once a month to help you learn how to open a school, how to become a CNA instructor, how to do phlebotomy schools, how to do medical assistant, starting in January. And by the way, y'all, I got a whole lineup all year. I've been making videos all year. I bunched up a whole bunch of videos. And starting in January, which is next month, I'll slowly release them one by one. So you're going to have your Motivational Monday videos come back. So every Monday I will have a video. I think the very first one is going to talk about how much does it cost to start a CNA school. And I'm going to tell you how much it cost me specifically to start this school, Hero Institute. How much it cost me to start my first CNA school and how much it cost me to start up this school, which is not just CNA, but it's medical assistant, phlebotomy, patient care tech, and etc. So I'll give you the details on that. Again, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to read these last comments. Let's see. Anything else? Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate you. Have a great week. I will see you next Friday at noon, every Friday at noon, unless it's the holiday week, by the way. So Christmas week, the week before, don't expect to see me here because I will be preparing for Christmas and I hope you will be too. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. Bye.